ESPN NFL business analyst Andrew Brandt with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team. You can see his fine work, ESPN.com, SportsCenter, and Monday Morning Quarterback as well. Andrew, you have been following the Adrian Peterson grievance case very closely, and it seems at this point this thing is a mess. Thank you for your time today. And why is this such a disaster in regards to the Adrian Peterson grievance case at this point?
Yeah, good to be with you. This is a really interesting one, Adrian Peterson. I would like to read whatever was written and signed back in September, I believe September 15th, when all that mess was going on, all the noise about domestic violence, all the hubbub from sponsors, where, you know, it was a negotiation. Adrian Peterson got what he wanted, at least for the moment. He got the contract to continue. The league got him on a list they made up and pulled out of the cobwebs. And the Vikings got him away from a toxic situation. So everyone was happy back then. But did anyone really think about, well, what happens if this case gets adjudicated, like, before the season ends? And here we are. And it just seems like the NFL was always like, oh, when that happens, we'll review the case. Where the NFLPA and Peterson look at it and say, no. When that happens, you either put them on the field or you give them some kind of penalty in addition to what's happened. And that's where the disconnect is. So we're going to find out on Monday, at least in front of the arbitrator, who's right on that. And where this goes, my sense is that there's got to be a piece of paper that says, when this adjudicated, we're going to do something or we're going to review it. So we'll find out.
Andrew Brandt, ESPN NFL business analyst with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team.
And the person overseeing, the arbiter, that name sounds familiar. Shyam Das. Why do I know that name?
Yeah, he's an arbitrator for the NFL, and those are handpicked by the NFL and NFLPA. They have to agree on 3 independent arbitrators. He was signed off by both. He was also signed off by both the Major League Baseball Players Association and Major League Baseball, years and years of overseeing arbitrations until 2 years ago, in 2012, he ruled that Ryan Braun's suspension would be overturned due to a failed collection process of his urine screen by a urine collector. And within minutes of him issuing that opinion, Major League Baseball, he no longer was needed for services of an arbitration in Major League Baseball. But his role at the NFL continues. He'll hear the case on Monday.
So what's your grasp, Andrew, on the final outcome of this NFL versus Adrian Peterson and what we'll see when all the dust settles?
You know, it's interesting because we still have, at least I think we still have on the books, this 6-game for first offense, which came out after Ray Rice's 2-game offense, yet before his video indefinite suspension. So it hasn't been applied. So are we going to see a 6-game suspension applied on top of him missing all these games, even though he was paid? I'm sensing no. I'm sensing they're not going to apply 6 games. They're going to give him some kind of credit for being off the field, even though he got paid. And I guess if I had to sort of gun to my head, pick a determination, I guess, 2 more games he has to sit out, and then he's reinstated.
Do you think the Adrian Peterson case will have any effect on Greg Hardy's status?
No, because that's not going to be adjudicated this year. So he's going to sit there all year and get paid and not play. So that one seems pretty clear-cut.
It's Armen and Levack with ESPN NFL business analyst and MondayMorningQuarterback.com's Andrew Brandt.
With that, though, the commissioner's exempt list, all the criticism that's come from that, do you think we'll ever hear about this list again, or does it go away when Greg Hardy does?
Yeah, it's funny because I remarked at the time I've never seen that list. The list is for players who come back from suspension, and then teams have a week or two to get them acclimated and get them in shape. I think actually the Dallas Cowboys have just used that list for Josh Brandt and now have activated him from that list. But, yeah, it was a kind of an inventive use of the list. I think it was a one-time thing because of the heat of the moment in September. and I agree with you. I do not think we'll see that list used again.
Andrew Brandt of ESPN, NFL business analyst, also of Monday Morning Quarterback, joining Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team. Andrew, Roger Goodell was forced to testify in the Ray Rice hearing, and we were all excited about it. Will the public ever find out what was said by Roger Goodell in that hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you bringing that up because I stood there for 3 days last week, one day in the rain, in front of the law office where it was being heard. I don't know if we'll see a transcript of that.
Oh, man.
But I know someone who will. And that is Robert Mueller, who's overseeing the investigation into the NFL's handling of the Ray Rice matter. I have every reason to believe he'll see that, and then we will see his report about what happened with the commissioner and Ray Rice. So in a roundabout way, we will see it. My sense is Roger Goodell stood sat in a witness chair last week and continued to say Ray Rice did not tell us a full accounting of what happened up until the video came out, and then we were forced to change our minds because of the different facts. I know Ray Rice and his team said the opposite. They said we did give him a full and complete accounting, everything that happened in and outside that elevator. So we may be down to a he said, she said once again, but I would hope that Roger Goodell did more than say the words ambiguous, inconsistent. That's been his MO about Ray Rice so far. I would think the lawyers for Rice really got into him and said, no, don't just leave us here with ambiguity. What exactly did Ray Rice not tell you? And they probably made Roger Goodell really talk about, he didn't tell me he punched her, and then there's Ozzie Newsome saying, yes, he told me he punched her. So we'll see. That one is going to continue as we wait for the transcript.
You don't necessarily feel like we're going to get anything earth-shattering or job-defining of Roger Goodell, like, oh, actually, yes, I did see that second video before it was released to the public. Nothing like that.
No, I think the testimony based on what I could conclude was a lot from the NFL about how illegal it would have been to procure that tape, and how they would not stoop to the level of TMZ. And then on the Rice side, I'm sure they talked about the legal might of the NFL security department and how they maybe have not gotten evidence illegally, but they have used context to get evidence in a lot of different ways. So I bet a lot of that hearing was about that. And listen, let me just say this to end the Ray Rice. Roger Goodell could sit there and say exactly this, which would be true. He would say, listen, I am the ultimate arbiter of player conduct. And for all the talk about that changing, that has not changed. So I gave him 2 games. And then I realized I hadn't given him enough, and I gave him an indefinite suspension. And there's really no argument to that because he has the power. And we continue to argue about whether he should have the power, but the fact is he does. So I have a hard time handicapping that case because Roger Goodell could just sit there and say whatever about the tape and then say, you know what, I have the power, I adjusted the suspension, I'm allowed to do that.
ESPN NFL business analyst Andrew Brandt with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team.
This thing's been such a PR nightmare, and now we're getting word that Ray Rice is going to sit down with Matt Lauer at some point this month. Is there anything he can do in that interview to kind of get a little leverage back on the NFL?
Well, that's news to me. That's interesting. I think that he's going to say probably what he said in the hearing, which is, I told Mr. Goodell everything that happened, and then use it as just reacting right away. I would think he'd use that as a pulpit to say second chance and community, and he's going to be out there, and his wife and him are going to be out there. And listen, we know the Ravens supported him 100% on this up until the video. The question then becomes, has he changed? He's still a good guy, leader in the community. Everything I heard about Ray Rice is everything you heard. He's a good guy. And I would think he's going to get with Matt Lauer or whoever and say, I snapped, and once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Andrew Brandt, ESPN NFL business analyst. And Andrew, you were in the front office of the Green Bay Packers. I believe 2 years you crossed with Ben McAdoo, the now offensive coordinator of the New York Giants. He was the tight ends coach at the time for the Packers. We, of course, now in New York on your home for New York sports are following Ben McAdoo very closely. Do you remember him at all? Did he make any kind of impact in your mind or leave any kind of impression with you? Did you ever communicate with the young Ben McAdoo at that time?
I did, and I liked him a lot. Again, when you talk about someone in a different role, it's hard to envision them in a bigger role when you see them in kind of a supporting role. I saw him as tight ends coach, but I'll say this. I saw players really relate to him, and I won't name any names, but he had to deal with some real personalities. He had to deal with some guys that would be hard to tamp down in terms of work ethic and discipline, and he did it very well. So I thought that guy had a real chance to succeed because he just seemed to have a good way about him relating to players, and then schematically, we were always successful at tight end, so I think he did a good job. And, I had calls this offseason from teams looking for head coaches asking me about Ben McAdoo. He's got a bright future.
Well, it's interesting you say that because it was NJ.com this week that wrote a story saying that whenever Tom Coughlin, has completed his career as a head coach, that the heir apparent's already the staff in Ben McAdoo. So that's interesting timing for you to say that, it's not out of the realm to have that mindset in regards to Ben McAdoo.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear. Again, you guys know the staff at the Giants better than I do. He's just in his first year. It would be hard to sort of say, hey, the guy's ready to step in for Tom.
Right,
but,
at 38, yeah.
Yeah, it could happen down the road.
Andrew, I follow you on Twitter, and I was very happy you were you were up to speed on the case that's had my attention the most. During the Seahawks-Giants game, Tame of the Hawk flies into the stands, terrorizes the crowd. I mean, just a total menace. And I see that is there legal repercussions coming from this?
I don't know if there were. I mean, you follow me. One of my taglines on Twitter obviously is "There will be lawyers." And just when I saw the statement, and when I heard the story and saw the story, I'm like, I just wonder, if someone called, maybe not threaten legal action, but I just wonder if that response was any cover their butts legally.
Little season ticket somehow coming out of this?
Yeah, something like that.
Little jersey. Andrew Brandt, ESPN NFL business analyst. He's a must-follow on Twitter, at @ADBrandt on Twitter. Also of MondayMorningQuarterback.com. Make sure to check out his work. Andrew, you're a very busy guy. You're all over the place. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.